Okay. Here we go. O'clock, we're on our way. Morning, everyone. All 0 people. All right. So here we are. My first legitimate test run. And here's what's happening. I drive almost every morning for a couple hours. And so what I'm thinking about doing is having this live stream, and I'm just talking. Now, I do ride through some rural spots. I don't know if you read that in the description, but there are going to be times when the quality of the video drops. I think it might buffer. I don't know. We'll see how that works. But some of the sections of my drive might be difficult for video, but we're going to try this anyway. So, yeah, that's my idea. Because I talk to myself anyway, so why not just share my internal thoughts with the world? And eventually, I've seen other people who do this. And there's this one guy that drives a truck. By the way, I don't know how those guys do it. I've watched enough of those videos now that I'm in awe. But anyway, so there's this guy that drives this 18-wheeler, and he's got a community of people that must follow him. And when they type in the chat, it reads out loud to him. So, because when you're driving, I don't look at the screen. I can't really tell how many people are watching. I don't know if anybody's watching. And I certainly could not read or respond to messages. Like that would be, I can't pay any attention to the phone really. So if I can get it set up so that whatever a user typed into the chat, it would read out loud to me, which is what happens to this guy. I might break down and actually ask. See if I can get his attention and ask him, because I think it's really cool. Like, it says the person's name and then it says what they type. The only time it acts a little funny sometimes is if it's an emoji. I think it understands some of the emojis, but not all. So it will tell him when there's an emoji in there, but that's kind of silly anyway. But so that will help, because then I could respond, or at least hear what people are saying. If right now, I am sure there's 0 people. I'm not even looking, but I'm just out here. This is a good test run. So yeah, random thoughts go through my head constantly, and now I'm just gonna, instead of just saying them out loud to nobody, people can listen. And I've been saying this like last year, 20. I had a medical issue that had me stuck in bed for a while, and there were a couple of YouTube video channels that I would watch that kind of made me feel so stuck. Like, there are people who take videos, do live streams. Some of them are videos, some are live, but where they're walking through the woods on the beach. And I've actually still used that. I have a treadmill at home. Sometimes I'll put the TV that's in front of the treadmill on those walks. It's kind of, it's alright. It's cool if it's a place that you kind of know, a place you want to go, just to see what's going on. I wish Google would do that. I think that would be really cool if Google, maybe this is possible, but if Google had it set up so that you could, you put in an address to and from, and it'll give you the directions and all that, and you can set it up for your GPS. Well, wouldn't it be cool if you could set up a, a map like that? You know, like I want to go from here to here, walk, drive, whatever, and then it would just take you down those roads. I mean, you could do it now if you sit there and click the little forward arrow over and over and over, but that's stupid. But yeah, I think that would be cool. It seems like that would certainly be possible in today's technology. There's probably just not a big demand for it. Most people want to live life in reality. And I'm usually one of those people, so. But yeah, a couple of things that, like when I was looking into setting this up, a couple of things I learned. By the way, we're going into an area that doesn't already disconnect. We're going all wacky. We're going into an area that I would suspect is a weak area where the cell coverage is going to be pretty weak, I think. Maybe not. But I forgot what I was supposed to say. It's pretty cold today. I'm in Maryland. It's in the description, but I'm kind of northwest of Baltimore. So it's like the northwest section of Baltimore County and Carroll County. That's where I do most of my copy. I have a trip in a week, not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after. I have a trip that I'm going to that is along the Chesapeake Bay on the west side of the bay, so I don't have to go to the eastern shore. But it's like maybe a little, it's east of and maybe a little south of Washington, D.C. It's about 2 hours away. So this all works. Ooh, he's got another. If you noticed, we just passed a house. We'll come by that house again when I'm coming back. Past a house where they have this skeleton. You know, everybody's got their Halloween decorations set up, and he's got a skeleton that's on a bicycle. And I actually left him a note because I was so impressed by their. He's just got a lot of stuff in his yard. I'm sure his neighbors, probably got neighbors that aren't real excited about it, but it's a major disappointment. So the guy put in an effort. Whoa, animal in the road. But I just noticed like a day or two ago, he's got one skeleton that's riding a bicycle, like a real bike. It's out by the road, and he's waving. So that was one, that's been there. And then yet a couple days ago, I noticed he put a helmet on a skeleton, so that was good. And then today I noticed there's some other thing there, but I was going too fast. That's too dark. So, way back, I'll probably have enough light to see where it was. Yeah, kind of looking forward to see if this works. Now, all I'm using is my phone. I was looking up, how do people do live streams, mobile live streams. You can get equipment and try to hook it to your phone and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know. Here's what happens to me sometimes. I'll have this idea, and usually I do act on my ideas, right? Which I highly recommend that people do. Because there's nothing worse than, like, you have this great idea, you never do it, or what happens to me is I get this idea and then I start building on it, right? Like, oh, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need this, and I want to be, and I want to be like the best, whatever I'm setting up, right? Like, this is going to be really good, high quality. But you get so buried in all of the little things that you want to do before you go live. Like, let's say this, for example. Okay, I could be like, all right, well, what kind of microphone should I have? What kind of camera should I buy? How should I attach it to the windshield? How should I, is the windshield the best spot? Maybe it's not. Maybe behind me is the best spot. I don't know. Do I want to GoPro? Although I looked into them, I don't really understand how they would do better unless I was going to actually walk, They have the plus. But anyway, so I started looking into all that stuff. And what happens is, sometimes you just never doing it. After a while, your interest kind of dies, or you buy a couple of things. So that's great, because that way you waste some money. But you buy a couple of things, but you never really put it together, and you never do it. So that's one thing. One thing is, you just got to start. I mean, even if this is going to look horrible, I think it is. So anybody who watches this, please bear in mind it's my first shot. I know enough about this to be dangerous, but I did look up a whole lot of stuff on, like, is it legal? What are the things to consider? Obviously, they said you can't, be on your phone. Kind of figured that. So you can't look at the phone, you can't touch the phone, you can't. Really, I think it's in Maryland. Even if I'm like just touching the phone, if I'm holding the phone and doing something like that, even if I was like starting the recording or stopping the recording, that would be considered a violation. So, and usually I'm pretty good about not texting or paying attention to my phone when I'm driving. Sometimes I'm really good about it, even just in life. My friends and family love me for that. But, so I was doing all that kind of research, and I decided, I mean, I think it's going to work. I did test out, can I put the phone on the windshield? Will it show a picture? I did like a little test, and so I know it generally works, but we'll see. And then if I end up with more than 3 people watching at any given time, set the bar low. But if I have like a few people to watch, then the heck. Which reminds me, I think I left the message I was telling you about when I was kind of stuck in bed for a while. And I would watch like videos where like you're out on the road driving, like stuff that I was missing. I hadn't been driving, I hadn't been walking outside the house and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know if people can do that. The other thing I was thinking is somebody, let's say, generally I'm on this route at 5, 6 o'clock. This is a Tuesday morning, and so there's one delivery that I don't make that has me generally starting at 5. So 5 out of 7 days a week I start at 5 o'clock. Sometimes I go down 7:95. Most days, actually, I go down 7:95. Today, and I'm leaving Hampstead, by the way. I realize there's a lot to put together. I'm jumping all over the place. I think I'm going to say that, how Donald Trump says that he does the weave? I think that's what I do. I do the weave. But the other thought I had was, what if somebody gets up in the morning, they're making their coffee, they go down 795 every morning, and it's raining, the weather's bad for some reason, or they just want to like pop in and see if I'm sitting on 795 and a backup. But today I'm just driving really all of this. Now I'm on 97. So I went the back way from Hampstead through Westminster, which is I'm kind of leaving Westminster now, on 97. And 97 is going to take me over to Eldersburg, where I make my delivery. And at least until, I'm just testing this idea out right now, so I'm not going to give a lot of details about where I'm going, what I'm doing exactly. It's like, imagine you just walked into a bakery, you smell the donuts, the fresh stuff. Yeah, that's where I am right now. So, it's inhale through the nose. And I have plenty of nose to gather the fragrance. Jeez. We're taking a nice little slow drive this morning. What's the other thing? Oh, the other thing that made me kind of push me to do this faster than my normal. I mean, I want to be prepared, but I just don't want to be like, I don't want it to push back my start, But the other thing is, I'm a fan of, I think this was Scott Adams. I'm a fan of Scott Adams. I don't know if anybody watches him. He does a podcast every day. He's on every single day. And he comes on at 10 o'clock Eastern time. He's in California, so it's 7 o'clock for him. But he talks for about an hour. And he's the, if you don't know, Scott Adams is the artist that does the Dilbert comic strip. And I think he got a little controversial a few years ago. He had made some comment that really was not intended the way people took it. But anyway, he's a very dry sense of humor. I find him kind of interesting. But he wrote a book that was called Reframing. But it talks about situations you find yourself in where you've got a certain frame of mind about it, and it may be unpleasant the way you think about it, or it might be unproductive. And he suggests ways to reframe your outlook so that to make it a little more pleasant or make you more productive. And he really kind of shows you how, by the time you're done reading the book, which I am, you kind of get an idea how you do it yourself. I think to some degree, I've already always done that. Ideas in that book that I definitely had already sort of incorporated in my life. But I think I might have started saying that because of one of the reframes, but I forgot. Oh, yeah. One of the things, I think it was in the book, was that most people think that being embarrassed is a bad thing, and they'll do whatever they can to avoid being embarrassed. And first of all, the goal is to just not be able to be embarrassed, just like don't even care. And but actually being embarrassed is a good thing. It means you're doing something that you're either going to learn from it, or you're uncomfortable with it, but that's okay. And don't be afraid to be embarrassed. So that's where I am right now. I really don't. I mean, I want this to work. I want people to enjoy watching. I'm going to enjoy talking. I mean, I'm enjoying it though. But, I don't care. And the thing is, I think one of the stories that he told about that was, the point he made is that people really don't pay a lot of attention to other people. I mean, that's just a natural thing. This is kind of crazy. The traffic is extremely slow today out here. Like, it's not what we're doing. But I have a pretty high tolerance for embarrassment, I think Scott Adams claims that he just doesn't get embarrassed. Just not at all. I don't know if I can say not at all. And I know when I was younger, I was paid much more attention to that. There were things I just would do. Like here's something. No, actually, I can't get embarrassed. Like, I won't go out on a dance floor. Okay, boom, won't do it. And that's kind of stupid. Like, I would really enjoy. I love music, so why I don't do that is kind of dumb. Now that I've got that in my mind, I'm gonna have to go dancing. But this situation right now, like, it could be embarrassing, but I'm not gonna let it embarrass me. Driving on the highway and like there's really nothing stopping people but they hit their brakes anyway. Why do they do that? Like, this truck alright. I understand it for this guy because he's seriously tailgating the car now. So we're speeding up a little bit, so maybe whatever he's doing is working. About to say, maybe he should just chill out. We were going uphill and he's braking. So he's that person that is driving ahead of him is making his driving effort much more complicated than it needs to be. The other day, wasn't on this road. I was on 795 going south. And this is another reason I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a video. Because who knows what we're going to catch? I mean, there could be anything on the side of the road. Who knows? One time I passed a porta potty that was on the side of the road. I think it fell off a truck. On this route, actually, it's back on the curve, the rural roads back there. I think on one of the turns that porta potty probably fell off a truck and I was laying on the side. But see, I just have to sit because I wasn't doing video, obviously. So I just sit here and think to myself, I wonder if there's somebody in that porta potty, and just enjoy that a moment thinking that by myself, but not sure. But anyway, back to 795. 795, driving down 795. I just got on some of the north. I'm driving so close that I'm going to have to hit the brakes. It's getting out of control. I don't like this. I don't like driving this close. Driving down 795, right at the top, right? So I just got on 795 at the top of where the highway starts. Headed south. There was a car, I'm in the left-hand lane, and there was a car, maybe 2 or 3 car lengths ahead of me in the right-hand lane. So I'm gradually coming up with this guy. I'm going to pass him. And I see, like, something has gone in front of his car when he's up there, and now it's in my lane. And it's a really weird experience. It's like shadowy because it really wasn't moving, like running. Even it was a deer. It wasn't running across the road. It was kind of just walking across the road. And he just barely missed it. And of course, I'm 2 or 3 car lengths behind. It's still walking toward the left. It was coming from the shoulder going to the median. And I had no time to really react. Like, I see the shadowy thing, I'm like, what? And then before I could really figure out what it was already over. Although I did have time. I had time. The guy on the right didn't. He was just lucky. But I didn't even see it hit his brakes. I did have time to like tap my brakes, but I realized at that moment that I started to tap the brake, and I realized it wasn't gonna stop it. Like, I wasn't gonna slam on the brakes. I was too close for that. And it just wasn't, that wouldn't have helped. Plus I got a I got a van load of donuts, so I've got to take care of 100 plus donuts, and that would have been a mess. Although all of that did not go through my mind at the same time. It was a luck thing. But yeah, so this deer walked right in front of me. I mean, if I had been 1 second, actually probably less than a second, because a second is longer than a thing, right? 1,001, maybe a second, somewhere around a second. If I had been a second further, I would have either hit the deer or at least bumped its butt because it was getting, literally really kind of funny. What if it then died? Then it would be like sitting on the side of the road with an attitude. So, glad that didn't happen. But it was really kind of cool. So it would have been neat if I had that on video. That would have been something I could have cut that little piece of the video clip out, set it up for a short clip, pipe in some appropriate music. That was one of the things I learned too. You got to be careful. I was asking. I did go on, Chat GPT, and I was asking a lot about are there any legal things I need to consider. And I don't know if you use AI. I do. I use it a lot actually now. But it's very helpful. So he came back with all these ideas and stuff. And a lot of stuff I already knew, like don't handle your phone and all that. But one of my questions was, what if the radio is playing in the background, right? Like, do I have any issue with that? Because believe me, I wouldn't make a trip like this without the radio. But if you notice, I don't have the radio on because there are copyright issues with music, and YouTube has it set up as they should, so that it's listening, and it'll negatively affect your. All right, just hang on, guys. So here's what we're gonna do. Sometimes when I pull in, they know I'm here, and they come to the door right away. So let's give it a minute. Otherwise, I have to call them. If they open the door, then I'll leave it on. Now I'm going to turn it off. All right, I'm going to turn this off.